Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny, Medicare App, Backend API, Node.js inside. Today we need to developing this year the users and doctors and patients between the chat message, the all message we need to retrieving message events we need to otherwise we need to told like this here the socket connect, chat connect API like this told so need to call here the chat connect API. Inside we need to retrieving this here the all previous message we need to get here list API we need to developing here. This is the for only sending here the new message API we need to create yesterday. Now today we need to another API we need to develop and to call here app.post slash admin API slash app slash we need to call here chat connect like here and we need to request and response we need to getting here like here. Now helper.dlogs we need to print this here the request body request dot body we need to print here where request object is equal to request dot body like write down here and to save inside the request objects this body. Now we need to check this here the access tokens we need to call this here the check access tokens methods pass this here the request dot headers, then after we need to pass here the response and we need to returning this here the if token is valid, then to get this here the user data need to get here user info like here. Now also need to check this here the helper.check parameter valid methods we need to call here need to pass this here the response, then after we need to set here the JSONs request object. Now need to needs here the key names user ID for the connect user ID and also need to pass this here the socket like this. If here the disconnect, then to get here the new socket ID and to automatically connect with this users like here need to call here. Now first of all need to update this here the socket informations. Now need to copy here yesterday we need to write down these functions like here we need to put this here. Now we need to check here the these users are the deleted message we need to need this here the data we need to check here we need to write down here the db query and to check here the delete records information we need to get here the last data select created date columns and we need to get this here from chat delete tables where user underscore id and equal to and conditions need to check here the receiver typo fix this here receiver underscore id question mark and this is the identify here if any gets here the delete message the data then to save this here the date times need to retrieve like here the if you delete here the yesterday dates need to call this here the delete all message, then yesterday after before all messages are not showing, that's only to identify here the date times which time deletes need to call this here the user object dot user id and call this here the request dot user id request like here and we need to get this here the errors and results we need to retrieve here. Now if here the gets any errors, then to call this here the methods errors need to use here so we need to paste this here this code helper throw HTML errors need to pass parameters and pass this here the error object variables and then response variables and need to return these functions. Now where delete time is equal to, need to write down here the any fixed dates before start here the projects need to today dates need to write down here because we need to know any day message available. That's all need to set here the default times. We need to set this here. Need to write down here like here. We need to set here the static times. Maybe set here the late. We need to set here 20 is good. Like here the save. Now if we need to write down here result length more than 0 and to found this here the delete records entry we need to bounce need to write down here the delete message times is equal to need to call this here the helper dot server mysql date times result first is 0. Maybe you need to check here the functions format, maybe not right here the format. Server date. Maybe need to write down here the another functions because here not write down here the second functions. Write down here mysql date time and to pass this here the date and another functions. Maybe you need to write down here for the convertings. Change set here date, need to pass here the date like here and need to call these functions here like here and to pass this here the date. Save here, need to call sql my date times passed here the date created date and we need this here the format, so need to set here the valid format yy dd hh ss like here the right here and to save here. Now write down here the query db query, need to get this here the first user info, needs here to write down here, need to go inside the message already we need to write yesterday. If you not see, first of all the set is here, copy here and we need to use this here directly this query, write down here plus sign, create here the message query, need to write down here, need to write down here the message, getting here the whole message, need to write here the simple query here, not mix with here the only sender deletes and only receiver. We need to all delete considerations here like this here and need to all project are entire complete. Then after we need to explain how to single deletes and multiple deletes, explain this here. Now select to call this here the query, need this here the chat underscore id columns, maybe better than, so need to go inside the database to direct get this query is good. Now need to go Medicare's, select here the chat message detail tables, go SQL, select query. We need this here the columns, so need to set here the message type receiver date, no needs, we need to clean here now. Here's not use. That's why I need to clean not later use. And need to status also no needs now. Need to clean. Then after create dates needs and remove here the modified dates. Like we need to needs here, need to setting here. Now need to write down here the where cares. First of all, the created dates need to check here the condition bigger than, give this here the times. We need to show only this data need to get here. Inside more important conditions need to write down here. So need to create here the new lines is good. After mix this here, need this here the first brackets. Inside we need to write down here the sender and receiver ID need to check here. Like here, and need to write down here sender ID equal to and receiver ID like here or conditions. Again, we need to copy these conditions and we need to paste these here. Like we need to write down these conditions and to set and to configures and to save here. Now need to use this here the directly this query. First here pass this here the user and here senders, and need to vice versa. Need to change this here the here receivers and here senders, and to get this here the all message, both message we need to getting here. Here set here the receiver, then set here the sender, and set here the sender, then to get here the receivers. We need to vice versa conditions need to apply is to getting this here the all previous message for this query. Now need to paste this here the query and like here create like this brackets over these here, and also need to one more conditions need to write down here the status smaller than sender deletes is more importance. Otherwise deleted message also need to get here. Now need to call this here the first method to give this here the dates. Need to pass here the date time here. First of all, need to give this here the first query data user ID. We need to send here the request dot user ID means receiver ID. Then after the dates, we need to give this here the related date times. Now first ones we need to pass this here the request dot user underscore ID here. This value need to set here this one, and now we need to give this here the sender ID here typo user ID request object, not request, user object need to call here dot user ID. Again, so need to vice versa, so need to change this here the order. So need to first one to sender as I need to give this here the user underscore ID and request object dot user ID. Like this, change this here the orders, and we need to check inside the database of the delete flags. We need to check. Now need to go and we need to check chars. We need to check here, and we need to 0 to 2 message all we need to show inside the chat list. Need to give this here the 3 and returning this here the callbacks, errors and result like here. Again, so need to check here this data, paste here, response we need to get sales. Now this is how to get this here the all data, and now need to check here if result length dot length more than 0, else parts need to call here invalid users if not found. status, set here the 0, and message also need to write down here invalid user, like here. Now if here the founds here, first of all need to read message, also need to updates here for this all data, need to check here because need to connects API always call this here the opening this here the message window, then to call this here, that's why need to automatically all messages are the reads like considerations, need to update this here the status, need to call this here update chat message details, need to go inside SQL is good query SQLs, and to update query need to update this here the status, set here the 2, here give this here the 2 created dates no needs, need to modify inside, you need to set this here the now times, and where conditions you need to write down here, call here the sender underscore id question mark and receiver underscore id. Yeah, cheers, sorry for that. Update, remove this, set here the question mark created dates need to reclean, set here the now time here. Now you need to write down here sender id and set here the receiver id, you need to set here, and status is equal to need to set here by default, so need to get this query and we need to update this here question mark, pass this here the value. First one, so we need to set this here the check inside the database column structures. Once means here the receive and view, need to call this here the 1, you need to set here the type 2 and set here 0 if new message, errors and update result, like here's gets any errors, then to throw this here the message, and we need to write down if result dot length update result affected row more than 0, else parts, need to call this here the helper dot dlog, need to call here message user base reset fail, here right down here success, like here's. Now returning this here the response for this API outside the this call this functions status, set here 1, set here the payload, need to call here creates here user info, pass the request object dot set here the one. Maybe we need to check here query here 0 and 0 index value. Now here message list, otherwise chat list, like your refers your names need to set here, need to pass here the result index array of need to pass this here. And this API are the done. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.